Okay, right, I'm going to make a very quick settings video just to run through everything that I've got. Alright, so first video tab, this is very important, full screen, and you want 1920 by 1080. VSync off, frame limit should be, if you're using G-Sync, should be 3 under your hertz of your monitor, but if you're not using G-Sync, you can go for the full amount of your monitor or unlimited. Yeah, to set, because my monitors are 360 hertz, I'm okay on 240, but if you're running like 144 hertz monitor and 144 in here, it's going to be bashing on your monitor's G-Sync limit constantly, and it's going to be giving you extra latency. So the way to fix that is to stick it on unlimited for now. And go into your Explorer, go to local app data, all one word with percentages on either side. Go and find Fortnite game, then saved, then config, then Windows client, and in here you've got your game user settings file. Now this file is basically has a lot of the settings that this does, so you can basically set all of these in here if you really wanted to. So you want to edit that, and in here, where's the FPS? What have I just set it to? You can't, by the way, you can't have Fortnite running while you're doing this, so you have to close Fortnite, then edit this file, then open Fortnite again. The one you want, so frame rate limit, so set that to 3 under the FPS of your monitor if you're using G-Sync. Okay, so that mine would be 237 in this case, or if I put full, if I was using a 360 monitor, which I am, it would be 357. Okay, and save that, and then open Fortnite. Right, so we're going to go back and do everything in here though for now. So that's your FPS cap stuff. But as I say, I'm okay with just 240 because I've got a 360 Hz monitor, so it's not a problem. Running Road DX12, that's the lowest latency. If you can maintain your FPS to the upper limit. So if you've got a solid 240 all the time, DX12 will be lower latency than performance mode. However, if the performance of your PC keeps dipping and dropping to, I don't know, 100 below or something, then latency will be better on performance mode. So if you've got a very well tuned computer and you don't get the drops, DX12 will be the lowest latency. If you don't have a very well tuned computer and you get lots of drops, then you want performance mode. I think I worked out that for every 30 FPS drop you get, you lose 1 millisecond of latency. So I think DX12 at 240 is about 3 milliseconds, 2-3 milliseconds better latency than performance mode if you have the same FPS. So that works out, if you're getting between 60 and 90 FPS drops continuously, then you're going to be having worse latency on DirectX 12 than performance mode. So as I say, if you've got a very well-tuned computer with hardly any background apps running, low processes running in the background, and you can maintain that solid 240 or whatever you said it this as, DirectX 12 will be the best for latency. Okay. Otherwise use performance mode. All right. These I always leave as default. Motion blur off. It makes you feel sick. Right, so quality presets. If you're going to run DX12 and you don't want to see grass, you want flat grass so you can see over hills clearer when you're shooting people, and you also want mobile builds, the quickest way to get this is to use the quality presets. What you do is you set them to low. This adjusts most of these down here to the very minimum. Then when that's set to low, you make sure anti-aliasing is then set to off. You ignore this one because this gets turned off anyway. 3D resolution, you move that up to 100%. Dynamic 3D resolution's off. Most of these should be off or near. Textures low. Now, it can actually help if you increase your textures from low, because what that can do is it can move some of the work from the CPU over to your GPU. Now, Fortnite is a CPU bound game, which means your CPU gets maxed before your GPU does. So typically, depending on your PC setup, but normally it's CPU bound and memory bound. So if you get faster memory and you get a faster CPU, you will get a lot more FPS. Adding a huge 4090 GPU won't make a lot of difference. It's a CPU based game. So, but what you can do is you can move some of the work, as I said, from the CPU over to the GPU by increasing the textures. So what I normally recommend is, if you've got a pretty good PC, go with medium. If you've got a really good PC, go with high. I normally go with medium, even though I probably can run high. Make sure these two download things for high resolution textures are both off. These should all be low or off. Right, I show my FPS, I do that on, and the other important one down the bottom here is NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency Mode. That will override the low latency mode in the NVIDIA control panel. It's a newer version. Reflex is a newer technology than the one in the control panel. So whatever you put here will override what you've got, well, it's meant to, in theory, override what you've got in the NVIDIA control panel. So you ideally will just want on plus boost for this. And once you apply all that, you need to restart your game, because otherwise this might not kick in until you've restarted your game. So that's the video settings tab. Game settings tab, matchmaking region, I normally set that to the one I'm actually on. I don't know why it was on auto there. Language, just leave that alone. Movement, toggle sprint, yeah, auto open doors, that I find saves me loads of time. Mantle activation, hold jump. The combat ones, just copy these down. Preferred item slots, I like having my guns in order of the distance they are effective at. So closest distance, medium distance and long distance. And I scroll through them on a controller. As targets get closer and closer, I can then just scroll backwards to here. So that's the order that I run currently. What else? I turn that off because I'm using that. I think there's a conflict between those two. If you put the consumables in a different slot and you put that on, I think there's a conflict, so I always turn that one off. Building and editing I don't really use anymore, but this is what I use for that. Extra game options. NVIDIA highlights I turn off because that's, I mean, I don't have NVIDIA experience turned on anyway because that's extra latency, but if you were using that for an overlay or to record clips, you can turn that on and install NVIDIA Experience Center and turn on the recording of the clips. All these are turned off. I do record replays only because I like going back to do a VOD review of see what happened. But if you want extra performance, especially for your disc, then you can turn that off and you can get like a 10% extra performance boost. So lots of people turn that off. What else? Game UI reticle on. I have list for damage numbers because the cumulative I find, well, number one, it was bugged with aim assist, so I've always put it on list. But list I feel is more accurate representation when you get somebody down to green health when they're white, because sometimes when cumulative, it has if you have a little break between a couple of bullets, it resets and you don't know where you are. So, but if on list, you can actually, especially when they get down to kind of their white health, the green health, it's a lot more, lets you know how low they actually are. Okay, anyway, turn that one off. I have this set to a minimum, HUD scale 70. What else? I turn off this one, elimination feed. I turn off because that can just fill up your screen. That annoys me. Latency bug debug stacks off. They don't work anyway. And yeah, these are the last ones. Press progress I sometimes turn on, but don't really need that. Gyro don't use. Keyboard and mouse don't use. Although, yeah, I don't use those. These are my current controller settings. Edit slides is edit hold is bare minimum. I think that's the default for slide. Vibration off. And then I turn down all my look sensitivities before I then edit these. The only way to do that is to go off of advanced mode. You have to go back to normal mode. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's advanced or normal? Why can't I see that? There we go. So if you turn that back to here, you can then edit these. Yeah. It shouldn't make a difference, but it kind of weirdly does. Yeah, so I've got my look currently at 40, and I've got 8% boosts across the board for look and aiming down sight. No look dampening time, that's just latency. I don't even know why that's there. I know Reet uses it, but you're basically just adding controller latency. Why would you add any controller latency? Crazy. I use linear, aim to extent 100% of course. Dead zones, I always set to 10%, even with a brand new controller when I can kind of go down to minimum of 5. The reason being is the controller ages, your dead zones get bigger and bigger. I'd rather just always have the same dead zone, no matter how old the controller is, so you don't have to get used to a new one. So I set them at 10 out of the gate. Put controller off, that doesn't really do anything, that doesn't really do anything. Sounds, that's all default. What else? Nothing really exciting here. I've tried optimizing sounds with quality and things, it doesn't really make much difference. I spent a lot of months playing with different settings there, didn't really make any performance difference at least. Keyboard stuff I don't use, but what I do use is I use anti-micro to map the up and down D-pad, up and down here, to scroll wheel up and down. I use anti-micro to do that, and then in here I've obviously got weapon slot 1 as up, and edit reset and building as scroll wheel mouse down. So then once in anti-micro, I can then bind them to up and down here, and then I can bind up and down on the D-pad to paddles at the back. So I can go straight to my shotgun, and I can reset walls instantly with one paddle press. That's very, very useful. Controller settings here. Yeah, as I said, so I'm using anti-micro to bind these to scroll wheel up and down. And that doesn't affect aim assist, because anything on your mouse for scroll wheel and middle wheel buttons do not affect aim assist. They don't interrupt it at all. If you were binding something to your keyboard or something movement on your mouse, that would interrupt aim assist, but because you're just doing scroll wheel, it doesn't change it. So you can use these on a controller and it works perfectly well. So these are build controls, edit controls, ability controls. My dead zones obviously were 10-10 where I set them before, weren't they? A lot of people switch to generic here, but I would have to do this every time I started the game, every time I went into a new game, because it resets it constantly back to Xbox One. So I've just given up. I mean, you can apply it to generic. Some people say it's got a bit of latency, but I don't notice the difference, and I just get fed up of moving it back and forwards. Account stuff. Yeah, nothing exciting there, and that's it. Alright, so any questions? Grab me on my Discord. Okay, bye for now.